Okay, good morning. So today we're going to discuss an entirely new concept to Portal products, and that is the subscription group. Okay. So we're going to discuss what is a subscription group. We're going to look at how you would define a subscription group in the pricing center. And we're also going to look at how to transfer subscriptions between accounts and what happens when you do that. So first of all, what is a subscription group? Well, a subscription group is essentially a hierarchy of services. It has a subscription service and member services. What is it for? Well, this functionality was requested by telco carriers who wanted to be able to have a construct that they could associate with a telephone number, and one that they could transfer from customer to customer, and one that could have some characteristics in common between all the services. So in this example here, we have service telco GSM telephony, and underneath it is service telco GSM SMS, and we have GPRS. So what happens in the data model is that these services point to this parent service. Okay. Now, in this example, this is just to show you that we can have any kind of services in a service group. But in fact, the most common use here would be service telco GSM, and then you'd probably have an asterisk, and then you would have services that are subclasses of that. You would have SMS and telephony under that service, okay? Because there are very interesting inheritance properties that the member services can that have related to the parent service. Okay, so a subscription group usually maps to a phone or another device that can be transferred from one owner to another. Okay, so typically in a large corporation, you might have a phone that has associated with it services, and if that employee leaves, you can take that line and transfer the subscription to another employee. Okay, we call these things subscription groups, but in some of our large customers, they call them a connection or a line. Probably most often they may call it a line because it is associated with a line. But we would like to try to be service neutral, so we like to call it a subscription group in our documentation and in all of our training materials. So does anyone have any real questions about this elementary first look at a subscription group? Make sense? Okay. So what are the benefits of a subscription group? So a subscription group, one of the things that happens is there is inheritance. A subscription service is discounts, ERAs, charge shares, discount share relationships, all can be inherited by member services. So for example, a subscription, the top service may have a discount. That discount, under certain circumstances, can be inherited and applied automatically to all of the member services. So that's really a big benefit because you attach one discount to the entire group and it is shared. Okay? Another benefit, as I mentioned before, is transfer. You can transfer a subscription group to another account, the entire group. It just moves right over. Okay? And the third thing is when you do re-rating, you can re-rate a subscription group without having to specify each specific service in the group. You just tell it, you give it the top service, and it will re-rate the entire group. Okay? So a subscription group is created inside the plan object. And this happens exactly in the same place where you would add services to your plan. Okay, so normally you have a drop down here where you add a new service. Well, instead of a new service, you would add a new subscription group. Then you're taken to this menu where you get a list of services and you start moving them over. The first service you move over becomes the subscription service itself. And then the next ones after that become member services. You only have one level of hierarchy at that point. You don't have more than one. You have a parent, and all the children are at the same level. Once you've created these services, then you come back out and then you say edit service deal and you associate deals with the services. So again, it's the same, a lot of the same concepts as in your normal deals and plans, except that the services happen to be pointing up to the parent. And with balance groups, you also have the same flexibility as you do with most other services. You can create multiple balance groups, and you can move services into separate balance groups. But for most inheritance situations, it is advisable to keep each subscription group in one balance group. I think then you maximize the effect of the inheritance characteristics. So in this example, we created balance group 1, and we dragged the GSM telephony service into that balance group. So let's look a little bit at inheritance. Depending upon the price object you're looking at, you have different inheritance rules and properties. Okay, so let's look at products. You have a subscription service and a member service. This subscription service has a deal that has product A and product B. This one has product B and product C. So the way when an event comes in for a member service, the way you find the rate plan for that, to rate that event, is a little bit different than for normal events. Okay? So what happens when discounting is they first create a prioritized list of products that are owned by the member and by the subscription service. So they would take all of these products and look at their priorities and rank them in that order. Okay. Next step is they search for any rate plan ERAs that belong to the member service. Now the rate plan ERA is something that has been left over from release 6.5, where you can specify a rate plan in the customer center via the ERA feature. Okay, so they look to see if this member service has a rate plan ERA. If it does, that is the rate plan that is used to rate the event. Next, it looks to see if the subscription service has a rate plan ERA. If there was one of those, then it uses that one. If there is no member service rate plan ERA. If neither of those are true, then it searches for an account level ERA that specifies a rate plan. Then, if that is not found, then they will take, rating will take the highest priority product of this group. Okay. So that's the way a rate plan is chosen to rate a member ERA. As far as discounts go, discounts are a little bit different. When you need to rate something, obviously you want to select one rate plan. When you want a discount, you can apply multiple discounts. So if a member service has a discount and the subscription service has a discount, the discounts are applied in priority order, but they will both be applied as long as they, match. As long as they are, in the system, you've got a discount here and you've got a discount here. They rank the discounts, and the highest priority one is applied first, and then the next one is applied next. And the fact that the event may be different, I think the events are not considered. It should be applying both of them. Now, sharing of discount and charge share memberships is yet another set of rules, okay? The most straightforward situation is when the subscription service and the member service both share a balance group. In that case, the member service will inherit all of the group memberships that the subscription service is in, okay? If they have separate balance groups and each of them is a member of a charge share group, the member service will not inherit the parent's share group membership. If they are in separate balance groups and the subscription service is a member of a charge share group, or in this case, the member service will inherit membership in this group. All of these inheritances in this area definitely depend on the member service being an extension of this service. Okay, so this needs to be service GSM telco, and this would be service GSM telco. No, is it the other way around? Telcos? Yeah, and then telephony. It will inherit only if it is an extension of this service. If this is service IP GPRS and this is service GSM telephony, the inheritance will not happen. I learned that from experience.
Helen, is that just for discount and share, or is that also true for the other stuff you just talked about?
This only applies to discount share. Regular discounts are always inherited. It doesn't matter if you have separate balance groups, that is. Now we can look at transferring a subscription. Okay, you have a subscription that is owned by account A. You can transfer a subscription from account A to account B, and for the rest of the month, that subscription will belong to account B, and account B's events will be rated by the products and discounts in that subscription. So after you have transferred a subscription, the subscription service and all the member services will reference the new account. The whole thing is just moved over, okay? There is an audit event that will record the transfer. And after the transfer, any delayed EDRs that belong to the old account will be rated by the old account. EDRs dated after the transfer will be billed to the new account.
So the no history is transferred. It starts from this.
Right. Right. Yeah.
What about that non-currency resources?
The question is, what happens to the non-currency resources when you do a transfer? Do you want to give us a little detail, Raman? You can stand near this microphone.
Yeah, so actually the non-currency resources, currency resources, everything will be taken care of. The way it works is it will be prorated to the old account till that point of time, depending on you have a timestamp rounding enabled or not. So if you have the timestamp rounding enabled, then it rounds back to midnight, including the, actually currency resources, they don't have the valid to set. Balances. So only the validity is set only for the non-currency resources. So the non-currency resources will be rounded back to the midnight if the timestamp rounding is enabled. If not, then it will be the actual time of the transfer. So this happens for all the products which you are, this line is you're transferring from account A to account B.
And it's prorated back to the beginning of the cycle?
Right. So for the two account, it is prorated from the beginning of the midnight. It means, so like for example, like if you're doing it on 15th, let's take a example of 1/1 to 2/1 is my cycle. 1:15 at 10 a.m. I am doing this transfer. Assuming the timestamp rounding is enabled, then for the old account, it will be from 1/1 midnight to 1:15, actually 1:15:00 midnight. Okay, so for the new account, it will be from 1:15 midnight 00:00:00 to the end of the cycle.
Okay. So anytime during that day, you're essentially just defaulting back to
All right. But if your timestamp rounding is not enabled, then it will be the actual time. Like in this case, it will be the 10 a.m. So for the from account, it will be till up to the 10 a.m. and for the to account from the 10 a.m. to the end of the cycle.
Okay.
So if we had 100 bytes, 100 megabytes for the month, each account would get 50. What if the first account is already used?
Right. So that's if the right. That's a good question. So like if the account, let's say like you have 100 free minutes every month, you're getting 100 free minutes, and then you already by 110 you get a CDR for 100 minutes. So you already consumed this 100 minutes. So 115 when you do the transfer, you are actually having only 50 minutes. So the remaining 50 minutes is actually a over usage. So one of the implementation for one of the customer, Vodafone KK, what they have is one non-currency transferred to one currency. So that means like they have something like a one free yen that maps to 1 yen. So when the transfer happens, they will run the forward which converts this over usage into a currency. But if you are not doing this, if you do not have the mapping of one-to-one mapping, then the best thing is to do the re-rating to get the correct results.
We actually cover this whole topic of overusage in the balance management lesson as a separate feature and how to configure it. And actually, we do an exercise with that. So, okay, so that's great. You'll be able to look at that in more detail. And that would apply not just to transfer, but to cancellation as well. So the only thing when you do a transfer is that the subscription group that you're transferring needs to have its own balance group, because that balance group is what is actually being transferred. If it belongs to the account level balance group, it doesn't really work, right?
Yeah, that's one of the prerequisites for a line to transfer. It should have its own balance group.
So yeah, in order to transfer a line, it needs to have its own balance group, because you're really taking that whole balance group and pointing it to another account. That's essentially how the transfer is being done.
Right.
It just kind of goes away. So looking at the service object, we want to show you what has changed. So it's kind of interesting that such a small change can make such a big change in terms of the concept of the whole service group. All you do is we have one new field called the pin field subscription object. And the subscription object of a member service will always point to the parent service. Whereas the subscription object field of a subscription service, a parent service, will be null. And if you're just a plain vanilla, old-fashioned service, not member of any group, it will also be null. Okay. So all we really care about is to identify if something is a member. Because if you're a member, then you inherit things. And that's really why you need to indicate whether you're a member or a parent. That's the significance of that field. So to summarize, our service providers can now manage customer accounts through a subscription to a group or one or more services, of one or more services. The services in a subscription group can belong to the same or different balance, I think that should be an or different balance groups. The discounts and shared group relationships can be inherited by member services from subscription services. But for inheritance to work, in most cases, the member service needs to be a subclass of the parent service. And finally, a subscription group usually maps to a phone or another device that can be transferred from one owner to another. So we will be doing our exercises in the afternoon. We're going to be doing lectures straight through so that those people who don't want to do the exercises can listen to the lectures and then go back to work. So I'm going to review the exercises now because we have a little time, and I think it may be good for you to get an idea of what we'll be doing. So our goal here is to observe the properties of subscription group, okay, and how a subscription group is transferred to another account. We will do two scenarios. In the first one, we will just create a subscription group, and in the second one, we're going to actually transfer an account, transfer a subscription group to another account, okay? So what we're going to do is use Pricing Center to create a subscription group where the subscription service has a discount, but the member service has no discount. We're going to note the object IDs for all the pricing objects that we've just created. And then we're going to create a customer account using TestNav. Customer Center at this point does not support creating an account that purchases a plan with a subscription group. So we will be doing that using an F-list. And the reason we're noting the object IDs for all of these products is that we will be updating a pre-created F-list. I have an F-list that you'll be working with that will have all the product information that we're buying, but we're going to have to update the objects with the objects that you created. You'll create this customer account, and you will verify the charges and discounts that were applied to the account. The next scenario, we will transfer a subscription group from one account to another. So to do that, we're going to take our original plan, we're going to add a service level balance group, and we're going to assign that service balance group to a subscription group. Then we're going to create a new account that will own this plan, and then we will use an F-list to transfer the subscription group from one account to another. So we have all the F-lists sort of pre-made for you, but what you'll need to do is put in account POIDs, product POIDs, that sort of information to update it with your the objects that you create. Okay? So this is the end of Lesson 2, and we will entertain any offline questions after we close the recording.